She survived the fire they said never happened. She carries a bloodline the world tried to erase. And the man sent to expose her became the one willing to burn everything for her. Born from betrayal, hunted by power, and reborn through pain, Julia Reed is not a victim. She is the consequence. When love collides with secrets and healing becomes a weapon, one woman must choose between saving the world or letting it burn for the truth. The night the fire came, the rain did nothing to stop it. It fell heavy and relentless, drumming against the roof of the Reed estate, like a warning the world had tried to give too late. The mansion, perched on the hill like a proud monument to wealth and secrets, burned anyway, flames licking the sky, devouring marble, silk, and lies with equal hunger. Inside, a girl screamed. Julia Reed's lungs burned as she ran barefoot across shattered glass. Smoke curled around her like a living thing, thick and choking, clinging to her skin as if it knew her name. Her hair, once neatly braided, hung loose and wild, soaked in sweat and ash. "Mom!" she cried again, her voice cracking. No answer. Only the roar of fire and the collapsing groan of a house dying from the inside out. She stumbled into the West Wing, the medical research wing her father had forbidden her to enter. Red lights blinked, alarms shrieked. The smell of chemicals mixed with burning wood made her stomach twist. That was when she saw her. Her mother lay on the floor, blood blooming dark beneath her white lab coat. Her eyes were open, unblinking, fixed on the ceiling as though she'd seen the end coming and accepted it. "Mommy." Julia dropped beside her, shaking her shoulders. "No, please," her mother's fingers twitched. "Julia," her voice was barely a breath. "Listen to me. You must survive this." Tears streamed down Julia's face. "I can't leave you." Her mother's hand fumbled weakly toward a broken glass vial nearby. Inside, something shimmered faintly golden, almost alive. "Your blood is not ordinary," she whispered. "You carry the Archean strain. It heals, but it also awakens power. They will want it." "Who?" Julia sobbed. "The company. Your father." A cough racked her body. "They will call you sick. They will say you imagined everything." "Let them." Her fingers tightened painfully around Julia's wrist. "Live long enough to make them pay." The ceiling cracked. A beam crashed down between them. Julia screamed. When she woke up, everything had changed. White walls, white sheets, white lies. Doctors spoke in careful tones. Psychiatrists smiled too much. They said the trauma had fractured her mind, that she had imagined the fire, the blood, the secrets. Survivor's psychosis, they called it. Her father, Jonathan Reed, pharmaceutical king, humanitarian icon, liar, stood at the foot of her hospital bed, eyes red, voice gentle. "You're safe now, sweetheart." She stared at him, searching his face for grief. There was none. Inside her veins, something stirred. They discharged her 3 weeks later with pills she never swallowed and a file that read, "Diagnosis, delusional disorder, prone to fabrication." The world believed it. She let them. 3 years later. Julia Reed no longer screamed in her sleep. She didn't cry anymore either. She learned silence instead. She lived in a small apartment on the east side of the city, far from her father's glass towers and press conferences. She dressed plainly, spoke softly, and smiled when people underestimated her. What they didn't know was that her wounds healed too fast. A cut closed in minutes. Bruises faded in hours. Pain never lingered. Archean blood. A genetic anomaly her mother had discovered and tried to protect from corporate greed. A biological miracle that could regenerate cells, cure diseases, or be weaponized, and Reed Pharmaceuticals wanted it back. Julia worked as a volunteer assistant at a downtown clinic, easy access to records, people, whispers. At night, she hacked into secured servers, using skills she taught herself, tracing money trails, shell companies, and silent victims. She kept a list: names, dates, crimes. Revenge took patience. Then one evening, the door to her quiet, controlled world cracked open. His name was Joel Clark. He walked into the clinic wearing a rumpled jacket, tired eyes, and the kind of presence that made people straighten unconsciously. Federal investigator, Pharmaceutical Crimes Division. She knew who he was the moment she saw him, and she knew he would be dangerous to her plans and to her heart. "Miss Reed?" he asked, flipping open his badge. She tilted her head slightly, confused on purpose. "Yes? I'm investigating irregularities linked to your father's company. I was hoping we could talk." Her pulse didn't spike. It slowed. "About what?" she asked softly. "Illegal drug trials, disappearances, a fire from 3 years ago." She blinked once, then smiled faintly. "I don't remember much from that time," she said. "Doctors say my mind protects me by editing things out." Joel studied her, clearly unconvinced. "I see." They stared at each other, something unspoken crackling in the space between them. Predator met predator, but neither knew yet that they were standing on the same side of the fire. That night, Julia stood in her bathroom, staring at her reflection. She pressed a blade gently against her palm. Blood welled. She watched as her skin stitched itself back together. Her reflection whispered back at her, eyes burning with quiet fury. Soon outside, the city slept. Inside, revenge was learning how to breathe. The man who didn't believe, her Joel Clark, had learned long ago that lies had a rhythm. They hesitated at the wrong moments. They over-explained. They avoided eye contact or held it too long. Lies were clumsy things, no matter how beautifully dressed. Julia Reed's wasn't. It was quiet, controlled, almost peaceful. That unsettled him more than any nervous breakdown ever could. He watched her through the glass wall of the clinic as she moved from patient to patient, calm and gentle, her voice soft but steady. She smiled easily, laughed when appropriate, never too much, never too little. Every action measured, too measured. She was supposed to be broken. The reports said so. Yet here she was, whole, and that contradiction scratched at something deep inside him. 2 days later, Joel sat across from her again, this time in a small cafe near the river. He'd chosen neutral ground, public safe. Julia wrapped her hands around a mug of tea she hadn't touched. "You wanted to ask me something," she said. He nodded. "Your father's company, Reed Pharmaceuticals. You know they're under investigation." She tilted her head. "So I've heard. People connected to a trial program died, some vanished, and the fire that killed your mother." He paused. It was ruled accidental, but evidence went missing. Her eyes flickered for a fraction of a second, then calm returned. "I was sick then," she said quietly. "I don't remember much." Joel leaned back, studying her. "That's what the doctors say." A faint smile curved her lips. "Do you believe them?" He hesitated. "That's what I'm trying to figure out." Silence stretched between them, thick and weighted. "You think I'm lying," she said gently. "I think you're hiding," he replied just as softly. Something shifted in the air. She stood abruptly. "Then you're wasting your time." Joel watched her walk away, graceful, unhurried, like she wasn't running from anything at all. But he noticed something else. Her hand brushed the edge of the table. A fresh cut appeared, and before his eyes could fully register it, it was gone. That night, Julia returned to her apartment and locked every bolt. She pressed her back against the door, heart racing not from fear, but from recognition. Joel Clark wasn't like the others. He watched too closely. She peeled off her jacket and winced as pain flared across her shoulder. A bullet graze from earlier that day, an accidental robbery attempt gone wrong. She hadn't even reported it. She didn't need to. In the bathroom mirror, she examined the wound. Blood soaked the fabric, dark and warm. She pressed her palm to it. The familiar heat bloomed beneath her skin. Veins glowed faint gold. The flesh knitted itself together, slow this time, as if resisting. She gasped. Something was changing. The healing hurt more lately, as if her body knew she was using it for more than survival now. She remembered her mother's voice. Power always demands payment. 2 floors below, a black sedan idled. Joel sat inside, staring up at her window. He wasn't proud of following her, but his instincts screamed that Julia Reed was the key to everything. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Stop digging, Agent Clark. A chill crawled down his spine. Another message followed. She doesn't remember because she wasn't meant to. Joel's jaw tightened. This was bigger than he thought. Days passed. Julia and Joel crossed paths again, this time at a charity gala hosted by Reed Pharmaceuticals. Crystal chandeliers, polished lies, smiles sharpened like knives. Julia wore red, not the color of innocence, the color of blood. Her father stood at the center of the room, commanding attention. A king among investors. When he saw her, something dark flickered across his face, fear or fury. She couldn't tell Julia, he said, forcing warmth. You look well. Funny, she replied softly. I was thinking the same about you. Joel watched the exchange from across the room. This wasn't a grieving father. This was a man guarding a secret. As the night wore on, Julia slipped into restricted corridors she remembered from childhood. Her pulse quickened with each step. She reached the old research wing, locked. She pressed her palm against the scanner. It blinked, green access granted. Her blood still opened doors. Inside, monitors hummed to life. Files flickered open. Project Arthean. Her breath caught. Names, dates, subjects, and then status, deceased. Her mother's name and below it, cause of termination, compromised loyalty. Her knees buckled. Behind her, a voice whispered, Julia. She spun. Joel stood in the doorway, gun lowered, eyes wide. You weren't supposed to see this, he said. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with rage. They killed her. He swallowed. I know. Silence crashed between them. Then alarms blared. Red lights flooded the hall. Security was coming. Julia looked at Joel. For the first time, she let him see the truth in her eyes. Are you going to stop me, she asked, or help me burn them down? Outside, footsteps thundered closer. Joel made his choice. Run. They ran together into the fire, bloodlines and betrayals. They didn't stop running until the city swallowed them whole. Rain slicked the streets, neon lights bleeding into puddles, as Julia and Joel ducked into an abandoned subway entrance, breath ragged, hearts pounding. The alarms from Reed Pharmaceuticals faded into distant echoes, but the danger did not. Julia leaned against the tiled wall, chest rising and falling too fast. You knew, she said quietly. You knew about my mother. Joel wiped rain from his face. I suspected I didn't have proof until tonight. She laughed a sharp, humorless sound. And now? Now I know they murdered her. Her jaw clenched. They didn't just kill her. They erased her, turned her into a data point. Joel stepped closer. They're doing it to others too. She looked up sharply. Children, he continued, runaways. Patients with rare blood markers. They disappear and their records vanish with them. Her hands curled into fists, Archean blood. Yes, the word hung heavy between them. She turned away, shaking. My mother tried to shut it down. She said the human body wasn't meant to be owned. Joel studied her profile, how pain and fury sharpened her beauty into something dangerous. You're not broken, Julia, he said quietly. Your evidence, she laughed bitterly. That's worse. They took shelter in an abandoned safe house Joel kept from a previous investigation. Sparse, dusty, safe enough. As Julia cleaned the cut on her arm, Joel watched in silence. When she winced, he reached for her instinctively, then stopped. I'm fine, she said. I know, he replied. I just don't like watching you hurt. Something unspoken passed between them. She met his eyes. You should leave. The closer you get to me, the more dangerous this becomes. He shook his head. I've already crossed that line. She exhaled slowly. Then you should know the truth. She sat on the edge of the bed, fingers trembling. When I was a child, my mother told me stories about the Archeans, a genetic line dating back centuries. Healers, survivors. She said our blood could regenerate tissue, reverse decay, even resist certain poisons. Joel's brow furrowed. And your father? He wanted to monetize it. Her voice hardened. Turn it into a serum, a weapon, a miracle drug sold to the highest bidder. She swallowed. The trial subjects didn't survive. Joel's fists clenched. Jesus. She tried to expose him, Julia continued. So he burned everything, including her. Silence fell heavy between them. You think he'll stop? Joel asked. She shook her head. No. He's close to finishing it, and I'm the missing piece. Joel stared at her. Because you're the only stable carrier. She nodded. That's why I have to end this. That night she dreamed not of fire, of blood. She stood in a white room, her arms outstretched. Tubes ran into her veins. Faces watched from behind glass, curious, cold, hungry. Her mother screamed her name. Julia woke with a gasp. Her body was burning. She cried out as pain tore through her veins, brighter than before. Golden lines pulsed beneath her skin, crawling up her arms like living light. Joel rushed in. Julia! She collapsed to her knees, screaming as power surged uncontrollably. Don't touch me, she cried. The walls shook, lights shattered, air crackled. Joel shielded his face as the room trembled. Then silence. Julia lay still, breathing hard. Slowly she pushed herself up. Her eyes glowed faintly gold. She stared at her hands in horror. I didn't do this before, she whispered. Joel approached cautiously. Your body's changing. I'm becoming what they wanted, she said, voice breaking. A weapon. He knelt in front of her, meeting her gaze. No, he said firmly. You're becoming what they feared. Her breath hitched. He reached for her hand. This time she didn't pull away. The contact was electric but grounding. For the first time since the fire, she didn't feel alone. Hours later, Joel's phone buzzed. A secure message from Internal Affairs. Subject, Joel Clark. You are ordered to stand down immediately. Reed Pharmaceuticals has federal clearance. Another message followed. Failure to comply will result in your arrest. Joel stared at the screen. They were cutting him off. He looked at Julia. They're protecting him. She nodded. Of course they are. Silence fell again, heavy, decisive. Then Julia spoke, her voice steady, dangerous. Then we expose everything. He studied her face, the fire, the fear, the resolve. How? He asked. A slow smile touched her lips. We give them a miracle they can't control. Love in the middle of lies. The city slept, unaware that something ancient had awakened beneath its veins. Julia stood at the edge of the rooftop, wind tugging at her hair, the skyline burning with distant lights. Below them, the world moved as if nothing was wrong. People laughed, cars honked, life went on. Behind her, Joel leaned against the doorframe, watching her like she might disappear if he blinked. You're shaking, he said softly. She didn't turn. I'm not cold, I know. A silence stretched between them, thick with things unsaid. You should leave, she murmured, before this costs you everything. He stepped closer. I already lost everything when I decided the truth mattered. She finally looked at him. You don't know what you're standing next to. Then tell me. She hesitated, then slowly rolled up her sleeve. The golden lines beneath her skin pulsed faintly, like veins of living light. Joel inhaled sharply. This isn't just healing, she said. It's rewriting me. My body adapts to danger, learns, evolves. He reached out but stopped himself. Does it hurt? Every time, silence again. Then he said quietly, You're not a monster. She laughed bitterly. That's what monsters always say at first. He stepped closer anyway. You're choosing who you become. That's what matters. Her eyes searched his face, fear, hope, longing, colliding. You should be afraid of me, she whispered. I am, he replied, but I'm more afraid of a world that lets people like your father win. Her breath caught. For a moment, the world narrowed to the space between them. Almost. Her phone buzzed. She pulled back sharply, checking the message. Unknown, contact, tomorrow, 10 p.m., old Archean lab. Come alone if you want the truth. Her blood ran cold. They're baiting you, Joel said immediately. I know. Then don't go. She met his gaze, steady and unafraid. I have to. The old Archean lab sat at the edge of the industrial district, abandoned and rotting. A place swallowed by time. Julia walked in alone. Inside, dust hung thick in the air. Broken equipment lay scattered like bones. The past whispered from every corner. You came, a familiar voice said. Her father stepped from the shadows. Jonathan Reed looked older, thinner, but his eyes were still sharp, calculating. You shouldn't be here, Julia said coldly. And miss seeing my daughter again. He smiled sadly. Never. You killed her, Julia hissed. I tried to save her, he snapped. Your mother was reckless. She wanted to destroy everything we built. You built a slaughterhouse. For progress, he shouted. For evolution. She laughed bitterly. You're insane. He studied her closely. You're changing. I can see it. She didn't deny it. You're proof it works, he continued. The final success. I'm not your experiment. You're my legacy. She stepped back. You burned her alive. His face hardened. She forced my hand. Before she could react, guards emerged from the shadows. Guns raised. Her pulse thundered. This ends now, her father said. Come home, Julia. Or die like she did. Something inside her snapped. The air vibrated. The lights shattered. Her veins ignited, glowing brighter than ever. No, she whispered. This ends with you. She moved faster than thought, disarming one guard, slamming another into the wall. Bullets grazed her skin and fell uselessly to the floor as wounds sealed instantly. Her father stumbled back, terror finally breaking through his composure. You were never meant to be this strong, he whispered. I was never meant to be yours. She grabbed him by the collar. But then a gunshot. Time slowed. Joel burst through the doors, weapon raised. The bullet struck Julia's side. She gasped. Joel screamed her name. She collapsed. Blood spread fast, too fast. Her glow flickered. Julia! Joel caught her, hands shaking. Stay with me. Her eyes fluttered. I can't heal this one. Panic clawed at him. No, don't you dare, her hand found his cheek. You were right, she whispered, about choosing who I become. Tears blurred his vision. Stay, he begged. Her eyes softened. I love you, she breathed. And then darkness took her. Ashes to light. The world went quiet, not the peaceful kind, the kind that comes after something sacred has been broken. Joel's hands were slick with blood as he pressed them against Julia's wound, his breath shaking, his vision blurred by tears he refused to acknowledge. Stay with me, he whispered, voice cracking. Please, don't leave me like this." Her body felt too still, too cold. The glow beneath her skin flickered weakly, like a dying star. Around them, alarms wailed, sirens closed in. Her father stood frozen a few steps away, eyes wide with something that almost looked like regret. Almost. "She's dying," Joel choked. "You did this." Jonathan Reed's voice trembled. "I didn't mean—" "You never mean to," Joel snapped. "You just destroy." Julia's fingers twitched. Joel gasped. Her eyes fluttered open. "Joel," she whispered, "I'm here. I've got you." Her gaze drifted to her father. "You always wanted a miracle." Jonathan stepped forward, shaking. "Julia, please, let me help you. I can fix this." She smiled faintly. "You already did," she said. "You taught me what not to be." Her breathing slowed. The golden light beneath her skin pulsed once, twice, then stopped. Joel screamed. The world fractured. Minutes later, sirens screamed closer. Men in black poured into the building. Joel cradled her body, refusing to let go. "Get away from her," he shouted. Hands grabbed him, pulled him back. He fought, roared, broke free. And then he saw it. Her body was glowing again, slowly, softly, like a sunrise behind closed eyes. The air hummed, her wounds sealed not quickly, not violently, but with calm precision. Her chest rose. She inhaled, and the world seemed to breathe with her. Her eyes opened. Gold not wild now, but warm. Alive. She sat up. Everyone froze. Joel dropped to his knees in disbelief. "Julia." She touched her chest, feeling her heart beat steady, strong. "I died," she whispered. Then she looked at her father. "And I came back different." The room trembled as energy rolled outward, not destructive, but commanding. The men with guns dropped them. The walls steadied. Power bent not to rage, but to will. Jonathan fell to his knees. "What are you?" he whispered. She stepped toward him, her presence heavy with truth. "I am the end of your lies." Days later, the world changed. Files leaked. Names fell. Trials began. Reed Pharmaceuticals collapsed under the weight of its crimes. Whistleblowers came forward. Survivors were found. Joel testified calm, unwavering, and Julia disappeared. At least, that's what the public believed. Weeks later, on a quiet coast far from the city, a small house stood overlooking the sea. Inside, sunlight spilled through open windows. Julia stood barefoot on the balcony, breathing in salt and peace. Footsteps approached. Joel joined her, handing her a mug of tea. "You're supposed to be resting," he teased softly. She smiled. "I am," he studied her. "You still glow sometimes." She chuckled. "Only when I feel too much." He leaned against the railing beside her. "Are you afraid of what you've become?" She thought for a moment. "No," she said. "I'm afraid of forgetting who I was." He reached for her hand. "You won't. I'll remind you." She looked at him, this man who chose truth over safety, love over fear. "You stayed," she said. "I always will." She leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. The world was quieter now, but not empty. She closed her eyes. "I think my mother would be proud." Joel kissed her temple. "She already is." The sun dipped into the horizon, painting the sky gold, and for the first time Julia felt something she never thought she'd have. The world thought the story had ended. News cycles moved on. Headlines faded. The name Reed became a cautionary tale whispered in boardrooms and courtrooms alike, but power never truly disappears. It only waits. 6 months later, the coastal town of Astor Bay was quiet in the way only places hiding from history could be. Waves rolled in gently. Seagulls cried overhead. Life felt ordinary here, deliberately so. Julia walked barefoot along the shore, the hem of her dress brushing wet sand. The ocean calmed her now. It spoke a language her blood understood, ancient, steady, alive. Behind her, Joel watched from the porch, coffee cooling in his hands. She had changed, not in ways the world could measure, but in the way the air bent slightly toward her when she passed, in the way animals never feared her, in the way pain seemed to pause before touching her. She was no longer becoming something. She was something. She turned back toward him. "You're staring again." He smiled, "Just making sure you're real." She walked to him, resting her head against his chest. "I'm here? I choose to be." He kissed her hair. "Good." Elsewhere underground, deep beneath a ruined city, lights flickered on. A man stood before a massive glass chamber, filled with pale blue fluid. Inside floated a shape human, suspended in artificial sleep. A woman's voice echoed through the lab. "She's stable?" "Yes," the man replied, "but incomplete." "Good," the woman said calmly. "We don't need perfection. We need replication." The screen flashed a single name, Project Echo, and beneath it, Subject, JR Bloodline, Successful Variant, Back to the Coast. Julia woke suddenly in the night, gasping. Joel sat upright instantly. "What is it?" She pressed a hand to her chest. "Someone just touched my blood." His jaw tightened. "What does that mean?" Her eyes glowed faintly gold in the dark. "It mean we're not done." Silence hung between them, heavy but not afraid. Joel exhaled slowly. "Then we face it. Together." She smiled faintly. "Always." Outside, the moon dipped low, its reflection splitting across the sea like a fracture in the world. Somewhere far away, something ancient stirred, and somewhere closer, a miracle remembered how to fight.